Thanks everybody for joining us. We are just going to wait a couple more seconds as people hop into the webinar, and then we will kick this off.
You want me to like sing a song or anything? Like
By all means.
background music?
Should I have a playlist queued up? All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for our QuickQual user panel. We have some great things to talk about today. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to Patrick O'Brien, who is going to moderate today's discussion, and he can introduce our panelists.
Beautiful. Thanks, Emmy. Emmy's our director of marketing. She's phenomenal. Okay. Here's our panel here. So my name is Patrick O'Brien. I'm one of the co-founders of the company, and I am at my core a loan officer. A loan officer is in my DNA. So these conversations are always like super exciting when we're able to kind of bring in some of our users, because these are my people here. So go through and introduce Peter, Annette, John, and Marcy. Peter, why don't you kick us off? You're dressed sharp there. I didn't get the memo that I was supposed to look super sharp.
Always making people look bad, Peter.
And I'm wearing a hat because I'm bald and you'd see a reflection off my head. So I'm not sure. I mean, do we have a slide about that later, or is that cool just mentioning that now? All right. So anyways, Peter with Apex. What's up, Peter? Why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Very glad to be here. Mortgage banker, around 11 years. I'm with Apex Home Loans, which is a division of Celebrity Home Loans. I originate my own pipeline and for the 4 partners of the division as well. So we put together a pretty busy day most of the year. And I'm happy to be here. I appreciate the tech stack and how it's evolved the industry. I'm looking forward to hearing everybody else's opinion about it.
Appreciate it. Annette from Premium Mortgage. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Annette Kopp. I've been in the business about 22 years. Started off as a processor, then a sales assistant, and have been fully originating for about the last 6 years. Specialize in pretty much every product out there in residential mortgage.
All right, thank you. All right, John with Keller Williams. What's up, John?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, John Logan, Keller Williams Realty Center in Howard County, Maryland, right there in Columbia. Been in the business for about 6.5 years. We mainly focus on VA relocation, things like that. But you know, happy to be here, happy to give my opinion, and honestly love this little product we have.
So if somebody's buying a mansion in the Chesapeake Bay area, you're the guy to talk to, is that?
I'm the guy to talk to. Give me a shout.
All right, appreciate it. Marcy, thank you for joining us. A little intro about you.
Just a little bit. Marcy Wanglin in the Buffalo Niagara region. I work with Annette Kopp a lot. Use this product a lot. Been in the business about 7 years. I'm a real estate broker, and I can't wait to tell you more about why I love the QuickQual.
And if we're buying a mansion in the Western New York area, you're the person to talk to, right?
That would be me. Please,
okay.
Please send people my way.
All
and
right.
then I'll send them to Annette to get pre-approved.
Beautiful. Just make sure we got that covered. So appreciate you guys joining us. We have this little like poll functionality in here. So we're going to run a couple polls just to kind of talk to the audience here. So do you use adjustable pre-qualification or pre-approval mortgage technology today? So this is kind of an interesting one. You know, anybody that's been in the business for a long period of time just kind of remembers the legacy way of doing business, right? Like a borrower wants to run a payment, borrower needs an updated pre-qualification letter. It's always just kind of like hand-to-hand combat with loan officers. So, you know, always interesting to kind of hear, you know, what people are doing today. Is it still kind of that way of doing business, or have people kind of started to fold technology into this space a little bit? So how does that, I don't know, I mean, does you tell me when the poll's over or what? How does that work? I'm not.
Yeah, I'm just gonna give it a couple more seconds, let people kind of select their choice. I'm seeing about half the people on the call have answered, so maybe a couple more seconds and then I will share the results. It's pretty half and half, which is very interesting. All right, I'm wrapping it up. And poll, and then I'm gonna share these results. You can see that, right?
What do I see? About 44% are using some technology and 56% are still manually updating letters. That's what I see, right? So that's interesting. Like that's, you know, that's probably pretty consistent with what we see across our customer space. A lot of people just kind of still doing it that, you know, kind of that legacy way. So, all right, I'm going to stop. Let's get rid of that. Okay, the story of this piece of software is kind of interesting. So I was a loan officer. I was a loan officer for 15 years, and we had created a few pieces of software that we had out into the space. And like I said, I'm a loan officer. I hang out with loan officers. I was at a happy hour. I was actually the Irishman on Main Street. So I'm at a happy hour one day, and the happy hour kind of had to break up because one or more people had to leave because they had to deal with a couple pre-quals. Agent needed to get an offer in, needed to get a pre-qual set up. And I kind of sat there and thought to myself, like, this is pretty ridiculous that in this day and age that a loan officer would actually have to leave the place that they were at or stop what they were doing or leave their kid's soccer game to update a pre-qual, which is just kind of like a clerical task at that point in time after the loan officer had already qualified the borrower. So kind of walked away from that scenario and started to draw out a little bit what ultimately became the software, which is like, what's an easy way we can empower borrowers and we can empower realtors to actually update these letters themselves within the parameters that we set as loan officers? Because we do that when we qualify a borrower up front. You know, we qualify, you know, we figure out what they qualify for and figure out what parameters they qualify within and set it up that way. So that was kind of the genesis of the product. It's certainly evolved since then, but that was really kind of the spirit behind it. One question I kind of wanted to throw out, and just because you're first, Annette, on my screen here, if you know, you've been in the, how long you been in the business?
22 years.
22 years. Okay, so you've seen the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
So you know, what can you say about how technology has changed, maybe like kind of how you handle that process versus where things may have been before you brought technology in?
Well, before, I mean, you would have to gather the information, then re-enter the information, fax a credit authorization, wait for a customer to sign it, get it back.
You're going real far back.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I was around when we were doing paper applications. So, you know, it just was like very time consuming to get all the information that we needed from a customer to actually make a decision. It could take days. So now when people are, you know, ask like, how long will it take to get an application or a pre-approval done? And I'm like, it could take an hour. Like literally we'll send you an app, you complete it. The credit auth is electronic now, and we can have an answer in pretty much minutes if they send over all their information, and they can upload all their documents. So it saves us time. It's pretty efficient, and it's definitely changed, you know, everything that we do.
Peter, how about you, man? You've been in the business, what you said, was it 13 years?
No, a little less than that, about 11. I mean, it wasn't too much different. You know, you set up the whole loan with the expectation it will be easy to update the pre-approval letter when the time comes you need to update it. But whether it's easy or not really mattered where you were. You know, like you said, you're hanging out with friends, you're doing things, and it's like everybody's kind of got to stop. No matter what you were doing, you realized there's a looming thing going on that you had to get back to your desk at some point. Go in the system, update the numbers, you know, whether you had a templated letter saved as a Word doc or generated right from your LOS. Either way, you're taking your sweet time doing it. And technology has just sped up everything and made it more convenient. So the process is much different than before, and I don't have to run back to my desk. And I like that.
I love that you mentioned the Word doc saved to the desktop, because that's our competitor. Like that's who people say, who do you compete against? We compete against Word docs that loan officers have saved to their desktops that they just kind of you know, pop into real quick to update it. So I appreciate you kind of adding some color there. There's just maybe, I think, another poll question we have here where we just kind of want to ask folks, you know, how much time are you spending each day dealing with that? Like we hear various answers. I don't know if you guys want to weigh in on that a little bit, but kind of in your before process, like how much time were you spending maybe kind of answering those questions, text messages, emails from borrowers, payment scenarios, update this letter? Like, what did that generally look like?
Well, I mean, I spent a lot of time doing that before, and now, like, I was actually this morning, Marcy called me, she wanted to submit an offer and the parameter was a little off and I needed to update the approval, and I was at my son's soccer practice and I literally got on my phone and fixed it in 2 minutes.
Cool. How about you,
Yeah.
Peter?
You know, I think that if you do the loan right in the beginning, your answer really should be less than 30 minutes. But you don't always get the opportunity to do it right in the beginning. Sometimes it's not just updating it. Sometimes it's just doing it very quickly because the contract has to go in. So anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, less than 30 minutes, and that can all kind of be relevant. But it really should be less than 30 minutes. I don't know if Encompass is doing its normal thing, it probably easily takes 20. So you can kind of depend on their speed a little bit, too.
Roasted.
Yeah,
Roasted.
that's
All right, Emmy, what's the poll say here?
All right, I got a couple more trickling in. I'm gonna go ahead and end it.
Yeah, 30 minutes in an hour looks like, yeah. So, I mean,
yeah.
not insignificant amounts of time, right? Like not insignificant amounts of time in the day of a loan officer to be able to kind of save that amount of time, focusing on higher level tasks, right? Like who wants to spend all the time dealing with clerical tasks? So we'll kind of open this up to everybody here. You know, how has kind of bringing technology in the equation changed, you know, number one, like how much time you're spending doing certain tasks, and certainly if you have any examples on that, I know you shared the one from this morning. Maybe I'll start with Peter here. Like, you know, what do you think, you know, how has technology changed, you know, kind of how you're managing your day?
You know, I actually took some time and quantified this. I think having a good quality tech stack is vital to the core of your business model. And I thought about it, you know, I have Calendly to schedule calls. That's at least 2 or so minutes of going back and forth on emails. You've got Mortgage Coach for illustrations, different financing options. I could do that. That probably saves me 20, 25 minutes. Vidyard built into the email and the Mortgage Coach to explain the illustration. That's 6 or 7 minutes when it could be 30 to 45 talking to a client or customer. And then doing the letter, you know, am I out on the road? Do I have to get back to my computer? Do I have to sit down and generate 2 or 3 letters on any given day? I mean, I could easily shave off close to an hour per loan based on being smart about your technology.
Annette, what do you think?
Well, I think, you know, with our technology now, you know, before we would have to set time, you know, set aside time to like answer phone calls when you're planted at your desk or whatever. Well, now, you know, I could be driving from one place to another, call the people I need to call back, get their email addresses, talk to them, set them up, send them the links. And you know, and then by the time I get back to where, you know, I'm back at my computer, I have a bunch of applications to work on instead of having to, you know, wait until I'm planted again and take all that time to do it.
Marcy and John, like Marcy, why don't you like kind of give us a little peek into the life of a realtor and kind of how technology's you know, changed what it is you're doing on a daily basis and how it contributes to saving time for you.
Well, I just did my first in-person buyer's appointment in 2.5 years yesterday. I got really used to doing the Zoom ones, which was amazing because it saved a ton of time, driving time, and it just made it really efficient for meeting with buyers. But if they want to meet in person, I meet in person. There's nothing you can really compare that to. But just using a showing service, using automatic emails every day to send people houses. So you just set it and forget it, you get copied on it. And then, I mean, this app, I don't have to wait to hear back from a loan officer about an updated pre-approval letter or what is the monthly payment going to be? Here's the tax. And then they say, well, what are the taxes? You put it all into that. And it's just all these little things come together and they really do save time.
Beautiful. John, what do you think?
No, I just agree with her. I mean, being able to plug in these numbers straight from the MLS into the QuickQual, I mean, it's easy. It's not waiting for, like, it's not waiting. Like, we don't have to wait. It just, hey, I know Peter, when we started using it together, Peter would beat me up all the time because I'd be like, hey man, send me a letter, send me a letter. He's like, dude, go into the app. And once I got used to it, it was literally like in and out, 5 minutes just from going from one screen to the other, transferring, downloading, done. I mean, the Word docs and the PDFs, I mean, it's cool, but if you're submitting an offer at 8 o'clock at night on a Sunday, I don't really know anybody that's, other than realtors that want to work on 8 o'clock on a Sunday. So no, yeah, just set it and forget it and automation.
Awesome. Awesome. One of the reasons why, especially the point you just made, John, is like Sunday night, like a borrower needs to make a decision, right? Like one thing I've learned in all my years in the business, like time kills deals. Like borrowers who are wishy-washy and borrowers who are not confident, who are all of a sudden going to get their neighbor chirping in their ear about what's a good deal or a bad deal. Like those things just straight kill deals. So being able to, when we create technology that lets borrowers have instant answers, we create confident and assertive buyers. And there's this GIF that I asked Emmy to put in the presentation here. So any of you guys that have seen The Hangover, there's that scene where Alan is like trying to compute the blackjack odds in his head, or I think he's playing blackjack. And he's just kind of got these mathematical equations flying by, and he's kind of just trying to figure everything out. It's like buyers aren't that guy, right? Like a buyer's looking at a house, they need to evaluate all these scenarios, and they're not loan officers. How are they figuring out what these payments are? How are they figuring out how much cash they need to close? Because these are pieces of information that they need in order to make that decision. So I'm always envisioning a buyer, walking into a house and looking like Alan from The Hangover, trying to figure all this stuff out in their head. One thing that we've seen is borrowers using our tool, and because we have loan origination system integrations, we can see this data. 60% of the buyers that are issued a pre-qual on QuickQual end up converting to a loan application. And why is that? Like, we created the software originally to save loan officers time. We just want to save loan officers time, create a better borrower experience. That's why we created the software. Kind of this awesome side effect. Actually, a loan officer in Florida had told me this. Loan officer said, realtors refer me deals and they expect a pre-approval. They want a pre-approval back. But what I do is I don't just return a pre-approval to them. I return to them a confident and assertive home buyer. That is my job, is to not give them a pre-qual, but to give them a confident and assertive buyer. Because when I give them a confident and assertive buyer, that buyer finds a house. That buyer takes action. That buyer is not wishy-washy. That buyer is confident in their numbers, and they are the ones that win bids, not buyers that aren't confident. So I thought that was like a really cool way of looking at that. So I don't know, Annette or Peter, if you have any kind of insight, if you sort of see some of that same stuff woven in where your buyers are maybe a little bit more confident in kind of how they're approaching things.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've had people specifically say, I've been referred to you, because of this technology, because you have the calculator, or agents will refer because they know that, this basically becomes their CRM. Like, there's a way to keep track of these buyers all in one place to, keep up with them, check up on them, be able to, have that calculator to go over all those numbers so that they can make that confident offer. So, I mean, yeah, I've definitely seen it. And I mean, my conversion rate speaks for itself.
Peter, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you can always tell the buyers you feel are not going to leave you when they get under contract because they're using it so often.
Mm-hmm.
And when you just see them nonstop using it, you kind of smile a little bit. You're like, oh, it's working. So, yeah. I think it helps. It definitely does.
How about you, Marcy? Like, since you're an avid user, like, what do you see differences in the behavior of buyers, like when they're empowered with that information? Do you find that they're more active or willing to act?
Well, a lot of them, yes. So I use it when I'm still in the showing. If they like it, I say, I'm going to pull it up and see what you'd be able to do. And a lot of times they can actually do more than they thought they could. And they're, oh, yeah, no, I can do that. oh, I can go up to a higher monthly payment. So it does make a lot of times their offers a lot stronger versus the PDF you have from someone else that's just like flat numbers and they think that is the max they could do. And sometimes they can't even do that much if the taxes aren't what they thought they were going to be.
Beautiful.
There's the
John, what do you
caveat. I
think?
mean, like just on the fly numbers, true, like real time. Hey, this is going on. And just agree with Marcy. I mean, when a buyer looks at those numbers and they're like, well, okay, well, we can afford more based off of, everything you've given us. Oh, wait, and closing costs are built in too, as far as what we can look at. I mean, it puts the buyer at ease as far as knowing that they don't have to wait. They don't have to think. They just, hey, here it is right here. And decisions made.
Awesome. Like I keep thinking back to that gif of Alan from The Hangover, and it's like, do borrowers, do borrowers know that, if they want to spend another $5,000 on a house, that's only $25 a month? You know what I mean? Like we think, like we kind of as loan officers sort of know that stuff, but like when a buyer's in there, like, do they realize like, hey, I can make a more aggressive offer, $5,000 or $10,000 more. It's like $25-$50 a month. Who cares? So that's like pretty slick feedback there. And I guess, Annette, I'll go back to you. Like, what do you hear from borrowers? Like, how do they like kind of self-serving on some of these things?
Well, I mean, we know that our kind of buyers right now, like the freedom to be able to, go in on the calculator on a Sunday and like calculate some numbers for themselves, but they also want somebody to ask questions to. So we're giving them the best of both worlds without them having to search the internet for any of those tools. But the other thing that I love about this, and I think that helps us, is that it's giving the borrower full transparency on what it will actually be when they make that offer. We're giving them the closing costs, we're giving them the payment. There's going to be no surprises. So I also think it builds trust because we're full disclosure. Whereas like other lenders are like, are you sure you need that summary? I mean, wait until you get under contract and then we'll send you the summary. So we're giving them full disclosure from the get-go so they know that there'll be no surprises.
Love it. Love it. What do you think, Peter?
Actually, I think that was a great observation there. Transparency, I think, was the operative in that whole thing. But and I think it empowers them. People like to have information at their fingertips, and this gives that to them. If they ever feel, if they're sitting there having conversations about bid over ask or certain situations that are more market specific, they can reach out. Your technology. Dale Vermillion gave me a great quote. You should be high tech, high touch, right? This gives you the opportunity to be high tech, and if they have further questions, it's easy to be high touch and get right on it, and you have the answers for them that are deeper. We do a post-closing call with all of our borrowers after every closing, and we ask them, what are some of the reasons why'd you use us? 1 or 2 reasons. The tech tools that we have, and this one in particular, always comes up. Always.
Awesome.
I mean, I love being able to just sit there and type in some new details on a home when I'm driving around and get some answers right away. I didn't have to bother you. I didn't have to feel uncomfortable. I just typed in numbers and I got these answers, and it helped me make decisions. Like kind of reverberating what everybody was saying about being confident buyers and things like that. So we get great feedback. And I think transparency, like Annette said, is key. And I think it empowers them to make the decisions on their own.
Awesome. Now, Marcy, like you guys probably spend more time with the client than the loan officer, right? Like you're looking at different houses or whatever the case is. Like what feedback are you hearing from borrowers? Like, does that type of thing matter to them? Like how important is technology to them in their journey?
I think it really just depends on the individual buyer. They do get excited when they can pull the numbers up right on their phone too and check it out. I always pull it up on mine too, make sure everything matches. It always does. I don't know. It just makes it easier. I have had people who were originally pre-approved with a different bank who ended up switching in the process over to premium, and they stayed. And I'm sure this is one of the reasons.
We're recording this, right, Emmy? Make sure we're catching all this nice feedback.
Snip that little section there for her.
That's right. John, what do you think, man?
No, exactly. Going online. I mean, it's buyer specific, and you know, it's the technology, who's using it, who's up on it, the demographic of who has it in their hand, and what they, you know, what they understand, like what they have. Like, do you have? Well, I don't know how to use an app. Just do it for me. I know me and Peter, we had a client that was straight up like submitted everything for docs, and pre-approval got pulled under contract, and literally didn't hear from them until closing, and it was like, oh my God, you guys were the best. This was such the greatest process. And we literally thought they hated us.
That's like,
when Peter puts those videos out, and it's one of those where that came up, like, you guys made it streamlined. Being able to see my numbers and everything real time helped out with a decision on whether I buy a house or not.
that's like such great, so great to hear that from all you guys, and especially what Peter said about the high tech, high touch. It's like, you know, we try to design technology that enables buyers, enables loan officers, enables realtors, but in no way can ever try to supplement that human connection, which is really the value that all those people bring in there. So,
Just
you
to
know,
add, I just wanted, like, I was thinking about it too. Like, we always talk about speed to lead within the real, you know, with on the realtor side of things, and obviously with lenders and things too. But it's like, once we have this and we're able to go in and pull a pre-approval and be done, I mean, we're number one in line if we're not waiting for somebody to draw us up something. And you know, that ratio of first lead, you know, first offer into third, fourth, or fifth, I mean, we're typically in our contract right then and there.
beautiful. Love it. I think we got another poll question here. So just curious what the audience is doing here from, you know, the market's weird right now, obviously. Rates are going up, and it's starting to normalize a little bit. So just curious what folks are doing to try to differentiate themselves. Is it, you know, doing educational material, email campaigns, video campaigns, social media? Like, what's going on? What are people doing? What are you guys doing? And Nat, what are you doing? What's changed for you under current market conditions?
Well, I mean, change the last 2 years. I mean, we're doing a lot more in-person meetings. And it's funny because when we do get asked to talk to like realtor groups, the first thing they want to know about is QuickQual, because so-and-so had it, and then they're like, oh, you have to hear about this cool app that they have, and the digital business card, and you know, all of that. So, you know, we've been doing a lot of training on that. So yeah, a lot of in-person training, mailers, you know, just things like that, touching our past customers.
Now, Peter, like, I follow you on some social media. You got a pretty good presence. What's going on there?
Well, I appreciate that. That needs some work, I think. That's like the hardest thing I could possibly do. I'm not that social, to be honest with you.
I know you got the look, you got the time in, like, ready to rock and roll.
I think, honestly, I think part of social media that does work for me, and what I identify with this poll, is video campaigns. I like the video campaigns. I think they work. I mean, you'd ask John, you know, that's kind of how I keep up with all my realtors. I'll get like a 30-second snippet, how inflation is impacting the market. You know, that's the one I sent last. That stuff's easy to deliver on. It captures a larger audience. So for me, I think it's really more video campaigns, and that fortunately gets to kind of funnel over to the social media side.
Yeah. Oh, the TikToks. I've been starting some mortgage TikToks that have kind of.
Right. I dip my toe in the TikTok water also. So, Marcy, how about you? Like, what's, you know, what are agents doing now to differentiate themselves? You know, it's not like the fire hose of buyers in every single listing anymore, right? Or maybe it is, I don't know. So like, what's changing there?
I think strong social media, like others have said. I have not done TikToks yet, but I need to. But I do. I get a lot of business from Instagram. I think it's really important to do stories. I think sometimes are more important than posts, because they're always lurking at the top of Instagram when you open it up and the little color is turning. So social media, and I'm a firm believer in mail, hitting people up via mail, Buffalo
Sweet.
Bills schedules,
Yeah.
free ice cream
Go
coupons, some you know, magnets, things like that. People love them.
How about you, John?
Yeah, I mean, with that going on, I mean, like with how I look at it is that people are trying to come back to life with things post-COVID. So like getting them out there, giving them value, the coupons, the little events, things like that, face to face. We started doing things where instead of like video campaigns, we're actually doing personalized. And it's time consuming, but it is what it is, and people love it. Directly, just straight out of my phone into the phone number, video text. Hey, what's going on? Things like that. But no, the in-person meetings, obviously social media is what social media is, but we're trying to be more face to face and make sure that we're in front of our sphere. So
Yeah, sounds like a well-rounded strategy. I love the video right to the phone thing, right? Like, get them right where they are.
I know I get beat up all the time. Like, oh my God, where do you get the time to do this? I'm laying in bed real quick while I'm going, hey, what's going on?
Love
Nice
it.
jammies.
Don't send any of those videos my way, please. All right. All right. It looks like the kind of a diversified answer here between a lot of people coming back in person, which is really cool. I think that's a value that sort of all of us, we're a technology company, but we are people, and we are in a people business, and that's how we differentiate ourselves from whether it's Rockets or Zillows or whatever the case is just connecting with people. So that's really cool. I think I just kind of answered some of these questions right here, so I'm going to skip this one right here just in the interest of time, because we just kind of went through there. But one cool kind of question we thought we'd ask you guys each is, what's a piece of technology that you wish you had? What do you wish existed? Because that's kind of how we try to develop technology, is we look at different parts of the process and kind of say, like, man, it would be really cool if it would be really cool if a borrower or realtor could just generate the pre-qual letter on their phone instead of calling the loan officer. Like, what do you guys think? Annette, why don't I start with you?
Okay, so we have, the QuickQual down pat that turns into our status update for agents and in everybody. But what's running parallel is the attorney, right? So, the customer is going to say, where do I go from here? What else do I still need to do to get closed? We can tell them what we need done, but we still don't know what is happening on the other side. So a portal that kind of is running concurrent with ours to say, do you have the search and survey? Has if they had to order abstract, has that been done? Is title received? Is it cleared? So that we can tell a customer on, at the same time that we're telling them that what conditions they have, we can kind of give them an update on, what's going on the attorney side. So we can, concurrently get them to closing, but knowing where they need to be.
Something other than emailing the attorney at their AOL email address?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And not getting like waiting on an answer. I mean, it's just, it's one of those things, like we have that status update. They know where their application status is. We need to know where the attorney status is.
Love it. Peter, what do you think? You're a pretty intelligent guy when it comes to the, you're all over the tech stack there. What do you think, man? What are we missing?
No, man, I'm not the idea guy. I'm the execution guy. So, I don't know, but I like Annette's idea. I feel like I'm going to piggyback on hers just slightly though, because it's a very siloed process between realtor, lender, and agent. If you could get a title attorney, if you could get all three in the same platform, that'd be pretty smooth. At the lending side, we have collateral underwriter with Fannie Mae, and it's a really sophisticated valuation tool they use to decide if we get appraisal waivers. I don't know why we can't have that before we have to enter an address and trigger compliance. I'd really love to see collateral underwriter get a little better and be available, like running DU. Why can't I just run CU and get a waiver before triggering compliance and have to restart my own loan? So I really want to see that. It's kind of being built out now, and let Fannie Mae do the heavy lifting with their deep pockets. And if that could be improved and get to the consumer market, I think it would really be an impressive feature.
I mean, imagine that, right? Like knowing way before an application that like you're not going to need an appraisal on this property. That's a great idea. I love that. Marcy, what do you think? Like, you're dealing with borrowers and you guys have technology coming from different angles. Like what's something, do you have any thoughts? Like what's something that's missing? Like, what do you wish you had in your life?
Well, I told Annette earlier today, and she told me it'd be very hard to do. But when they get their pre-approval, it has the interest rate, whatever it was that day. If it could update on there in real time, I know it's different for each borrower, that would be nice so that we know if it went up or down. where
That's a
you don't have
great
to
idea,
check
yeah.
in, make sure that the numbers still work for them.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. John,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like with that, I mean, that would be the only thing because I mean, well, it's day to day, especially with the volatility. It's like, what's going on?
totally.
What are the rates? What are we doing? You know, oh my God, they ticked up a quarter point and now this person can't afford $100,000. I mean, that would be pretty nice to have on top of this.
Awesome. One final question just to kind of ask you guys, like, and maybe you have an answer to this, maybe you don't, but just kind of cool thing that, you know, we always try to ask people, like, what are you reading? Any cool podcasts you listen to? Any books that, like, you know, are kind of helping you develop your business? Like anything you're reading, like any thoughts there? Maybe you have an answer, maybe you don't. I don't know. And that, any thoughts there?
So I've been a little slack this summer with, you know, reading books, but I am reading Tribes again by Seth. I feel like you're more successful when you're around a lot of, you know, like-minded or group of people. So I love the, you know, the intent of that book. Also follow his blog. But I'm also like doing a lot more of like self-improvement, bettering myself so that like I'm the best version of myself to give to my customers. So I listen to a few of those kind of podcasts and the Loan Officer podcast.
Sweet. Peter, how about you?
I like a lot of different books. I'm a big Bible reader. I read it a lot. I don't have any podcasts. I never really can get into it. I just don't know why. I don't like listening for that long. I'm never in the car long enough. The only two YouTube channels I really like is David Goggins and Jocko Willenick. I love listening to those guys. They get me amped up. I'll listen to it right before I start the day, and I'm like, all right, let's just do sales calls. Let's make this happen. So I'm into those guys on the YouTube side.
Get you pumped, man. That's great. Marcy, anything to add there?
I'm going to read. I like to read something that's going to take me away from reality, but I do sometimes, I do have some books that I have loved, but I love going to conferences. I go to as many as I can go to because I meet people from all over the US, sometimes the world, and I get ideas from them. Different classes. I've always been like an in-person learner with my notebook and writing down all the things that I want to implement. So that's my favorite.
Always comes down to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
John, how about you, man?
Yeah, no, the relationships like this. I mean, lately we've gotten into, I don't know if anybody's Jeff Glover out of Michigan, with Glover U. We've been into a lot of that with podcasts and the market shifting and things like that, and some coaching with him.
Sweet.
YouTube channels. I mean, I get into YouTube and it's like, oh, cool. How to change your brakes. Oh, wait, there's a mortgage over here. Oh, wait, how to cook this. I can't do YouTube. It's all over the place. So, but yeah, the podcasts and the one-on-ones and the conferences and stuff like that. I mean, like I said, I'm huge into being, you know, personal with people and face to face. So, yeah, that's where I've been this last summer and going into the fall with that stuff.
Awesome. Well, we're at the end of the slide deck here. I want to thank you guys. Like, this has been like super informative to us is the, you know, when it comes time to kind of facilitating and improving your lives with technology, both from the loan officer side and the agent side. Like, this has been like super informative, and like really genuinely appreciate you guys taking your time to kind of like weigh in on this. So I know I learned a lot from this. And again, if there's anything we can ever do for you guys, let us know. So to everybody out there, like, thanks for joining us. You know, if there's any questions on anything that came up, please feel free to reach out to us. We're easy to find. And again, thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks
For
for having
having
us.
us.
All right, take care.
See you guys.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.